Alright guys, I'm getting closer to finishing off my Harry Potter reviews, and I am so excited to talk about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Isn't this a cool cover? That's really awesome. But I'm gonna not bunch these two together because Part 1 and 2 of Deathly Hallows are one movie, but they're split in half because they'd be 4.5 hours long. So I feel like the only reason I'm not going to connect these two, like I could talk about both of these movies together in this review, but the reason I'm not going to do that is because it would be 2 hours long, just a video. Like it takes an hour with most of these Harry Potter movies to review them for me. Like I love talking about the plot and talking about everything I love about them, so I have to split these two up, like they did with the movies. So this video will just be about part 1 of the Deathly Hallows. Now, I also want to mention, I'm not going to mention really the omissions in this movie like I did for Goblet of Fire or Order of the Phoenix or Half-Blood Prince, because those three books were only a 2.5 hour length movie, all three of them, and they were such big books that they had so many omissions. In this case, Deathly Hallows is very closely more faithful to the first three books because it's two parts, which is good, even though it has omissions, but they're not like big enough to where it matters as much. So let's get into it with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Now, I like how it shows immediately the new Minister Rufus Scrimgeour, and like he says that like the Ministry is still strong and we will stand up no matter what. Which it's kind of a quick loss after that, because then we have this great series of scenes between Harry, Ron, and Hermione, where Harry's seeing the Dursleys leave. Ron is looking out, watching. He knows something's going to happen. Hermione's the best out of the three in the opening scene, because like Harry and Ron are just looking on, like Harry seeing the Dursleys leave, and then Ron is just watching on. But Hermione, she has to erase the memories of her parents. Every memory she has of them, of their relationship with her, they don't even know they'll have a daughter after her memories erase it. And the cool thing is, whenever she erases their memories, the pictures on the mantle that they have of Hermione, literally she fades out of the picture, and that's really, really haunting and sad. That like, because Hermione's parents are Muggles and they are going to be killed and interrogated, like she just knows they are going to be. So even though they don't say this in the movie, Hermione sends them to Australia. Like she makes them erase their memories and makes them think all they want to do is go to Australia. So she sends them there for their safety, which is such a sad sacrifice of a thing to have for her parents to leave. And we never get the clue if like they ever remember or if she ever sees them again, but I feel like she does. It's just not explained in the book or the movie. But I love the opening scenes, all three of them getting ready, and the score is incredible in this movie. Alphonse Desplat, I think that's what his name is. I think Alexandre, is it? Why am I can't find it. Alexandre Desplat, yeah. He did the score for this, for both parts, and he is incredible. Like this score blows me away emotionally. It's a very, very strong score. And I also want to mention, there's a deleted scene that is so sad that it is cut, because this is an incredible scene that really, it's horrible that it's gone. And it's about the Dursleys, because in the deleted scenes, we get two deleted scenes, one of Dudley saying goodbye to Harry and actually shaking his hand, actually being kind to Harry, and they both be kind to each other at the last moment they see each other. And then we get this fantastic deleted scene that I wish so badly was in this movie, but it works perfectly with the scenes all bunched together of Ron, Hermione, and Harry getting ready. But this scene of Petunia talking to Harry about how she says, like, you didn't just lose a mother at Godric's Hollow that night, I lost a sister. And it, like, even in the book, Petunia Dursley doesn't even say anything to Harry when she leaves. She's about to, but she hesitates. And in the movie, in the deleted scene, she says, like, that line, that he didn't just lose a mother in Godric's Hollow that night, I lost a sister. And you got the impression through the books and the movies that Petunia despised her sister. because she was the one to get the magic ability to go to Hogwarts, and Petunia was this plain girl. So Petunia was so pissed about it, but in the end she loved her, and I love that deleted scene. I wish that was in the movie. It was so haunting and so good, and such a great way to end Petunia's story. Even though it's not in the movie, it's still glad we have it in the deleted scenes. But man, it's such a great scene. I had to mention that. I wish it was in the movie. But then we get to where it's at Malfoy Manor and Snape appears, and they have the teacher Charity Burbage, who taught at Hogwarts, just floating in midair being tortured. And this is perfect to where it shows how the Ministry is going to be taken over by Voldemort too, because Charity Burbage did Muggle studies, and Voldemort does not want anything to related to Muggles. Anything that is not purebred, he wants killed or like tortured. He wants everybody gone. That's not a full blood or half blood wizard. So he kills Charity Burbage on the table and has Nagini eat her. but I love the fact that he explains before the scene ends. Voldemort explains that he needs a new wand because the wands that they have are like twins, where him and Harry can't harm or kill each other. So he needs a new wand, and he takes Lucius's wand to kill Charity. But I love that, and I love how after that it shows Harry, who has the Shard of Mirror, which was never shown in the movies at all until this point. But I mean, it can be easily explained. But in Order of the Phoenix in the book, Harry has that Shard of Mirror. Like, he had a little mirror, and like it broke in his like trunk. And it's Sirius's mirror, where Sirius could talk to him and see him through it. But it was never shown in the movies, and it's just introduced here, which is fine. It's easily explainable, but like Harry has this Shard of Mirror where like you see somebody through the other side. And he takes it with him whenever he goes on his journey with Hermione and Ron. And I love how we get, after that, Harry looks into his cupboard where he used to live under the stairs. And it's a really good moment because it feels like it's come full circle. Like he didn't live under the cupboard anymore. He just did when he was till he was 11. And then he lived upstairs, but that moment was just a good moment of him looking at it one last time. Even though it was a horrible place he lived in, under the stairs, it's a good moment. It really works really well. And then everybody appears at the Dursleys after they've gone. I like how you get Bill's introduction is in this movie and not in the other ones. He's been in the other books, but he's introduced in this one, as is Mundungus Fletcher in this, because he was in the fifth and sixth book as well. But Bill and Fleur are getting married, and they get the introduction, and then Mundungus gets the introduction. And I did like, even though it's not the same as the book, that's cool. That's fine. They're introduced there, and I love the fact that whenever Voldemort was talking to everybody at the Malfoy Manor about when it's going to happen, when Harry's going to be moved, this is the night they're going to move him. Everybody, where they're going to have 7 Harry Potters, because they're going to use Polyjuice Potion on 6 other people. So they're going to have 7 Harry Potters. So then the Death Eaters won't know which is which, and they don't even know the Death Eaters will be there, even though when they go out it's an ambush. But I really love that moment how Hagrid's the one who takes Harry, the real Harry, and says, like, I feel like it's just right taking you since I brought you here all these years ago. And it's just a great moment between Hagrid too. Like, they have this kind of resolution in a way, even though he's still in the rest of the movie in part 2, but I love that moment where he's like, I feel like it's best that I take you because I brought you here all these years ago. And then they all of them go out into the sky, and then there's hundreds of Death Eaters. Like, it's Voldemort knew, and it was an ambush. And I love and hate the fact that this happens, because they realize who the real Harry is because Hedwig flies over to Harry while they're up in the air, and then the Death Eater kills Hedwig, and it's horrible because Hedwig gives it away, but then Hedwig dies. And it really sucks. It really hurts in an emotional way whenever Hedwig just gets killed and falls down. Like Harry just like I mean Hedwig's not a human, but like it's his loyal animal that he's had since he was 11. Like it's so sad, and so it's really effective whenever he dies, or she dies. I can't remember. Is Hedwig a girl or a boy? Um, I'm assuming boy. I don't know, but then we get this great chase where Voldemort appears next to Hagrid and Harry, and they connect wands again, and it still works to where Harry escapes, but I love how it has them connect. And then they make it to the burrow, and then you realize that George has his ear blown off, and you think that he's going to die, but he doesn't. He has that great joke where he's like, "I'm holy, Fred," to his brother. But then Bill comes in and tells everyone that Mad Eye died. He's dead. Um, and Mundungus disapparated the second he saw Voldemort with Mad Eye. So that Mundungus guy is a piece of shit, and he leaves. He disappears, and Mad Eye dies. So I hate that. And then Harry starts having this nightmare of Ollivander, where he starts unwillingly pulling Voldemort back in, where he keeps seeing Voldemort's like what he's doing. And then he decides to leave, and there's this great conversation between him and Ron, where he says, "Nobody's gonna die. Nobody else is gonna die. Not for me." And then Ron just says to him, "Do you think Mad Eye died for you? Do you think that George took that curse for you?" And he just basically like talks Harry out of it. Like we're in this together. We've got to do this together. And then I do love the fact that this is something that wasn't explored in the books, but Ron has this talk with Harry whenever they're going back inside after that confrontation. He says, "Do you think Voldemort might be able to feel it? Like he might be able to feel something when a Horcrux gets destroyed." And I like that because it does connect later in the part 2. But then we get to Bill and Fleur's wedding, which I like the idea of Ginny and Harry like having that talk before the wedding, and Ginny says like, it's silly, isn't it, like having a wedding at this time? And Harry just says to Ginny like, well, maybe that's the perfect time because of what's happening. Like I just thought that was a really good line and a really good, and they kiss and make out, and then of course George is right there and says morning and like just kind of smiles at him. But I like that a lot. But then Rufus Scrimmager appears, who is the new Minister of Magic. He appears at the Burrow and gives Harry, Ron, and Hermione a couple items, where he gives Ron the Deluminator, which is the thing that takes the light away from anything, and Hermione gets the Tales of Beedle the Bard, the book that was Dumbledore's, and Harry gets the golden snitch that he got in his first Quidditch game. But then Rufus Scrimgeour mentions about the Sword of Gryffindor, which is not his to give, so it's currently missing. I like that because it plays into when are we going to figure out where that is. That's cool. And I like that a lot. And I like that they've got to now figure out where to take the sword, get the Sword of Gryffindor as well. There's a lot of things they've got to find in this movie, especially part 1. And then I like how during the wedding, Harry meets Luna's father, which will be important later, and Luna again. And he talks to Elphias Dodge, who tells him that he knew Dumbledore the longest, but if you don't count his brother Aberforth. And then Harry's just like, yeah, I didn't even know he had a brother. And then this other woman, I forgot what her name is, comes up and talks to them both and says like how Bathilda Bagshot knew Dumbledore for so long, and like she knew him even after Dumbledore's father killed those 3 Muggles. And then Harry's just looking at her like, all this information is new, and she goes, "My God, boy, did you not know anything about him?" And it's great because Dumbledore was very mysterious, and I love the fact that it builds on Dumbledore is this mysterious being who Harry didn't really know much about ever at all. But, I mean, it makes sense whenever you realize the full intent of what happened. But I really love that scene. That's good. And then, of course, whenever they're having the wedding, there's a message that the Ministry has fallen. Rufus Scrimgeour has died. He's dead. And then they're coming at the wedding. Like, the Death Eaters are coming. And they all start appearing in the wedding and attacking everybody. And then Ron, Hermione, and Harry apparate in the split second and appear on the street that Hermione like said she went to as a kid a lot with her family. And I like from here, this is a road trip movie. This is definitely, and it's interesting. I love the fact that this is not another year at Hogwarts. And they even state that when showing scenes of like the Dementors on the train looking for Harry Potter, like Harry cannot come back to Hogwarts. He would immediately be found easily. Like, I really like how they go on a road trip and they try to find the Horcruxes. They try to solve this mystery. I really like that. And then the first hint of like danger is they go to a coffee shop and then two Death Eaters appear in mechanic outfits. Like, they're not, or like worker outfits. They're dressed up like normal Muggles and they come in and attack them. So then they got to find another place to go. So they go to Grimmauld Place where it's empty. And they realize that RAB is Regulus Black, and I thought that was a really cool, like, reveal. Like, oh, cool, it's Sirius's brother, the one who was trying to destroy the Horcrux. And I like how Creature reveals that, like, the house elf that was Sirius and Regulus's, the Blacks. I like how he reveals that Mundungus Fletcher came in and stole the locket, which is the one they need, the real one that RAB had, the Regulus Black had. So Harry tells Creature to find him, and I really like how it shows, like I said, with the train scene where like they're looking for Harry, and then it shows the Ministry is now completely under Pius, who is this guy who was at the meeting at Malfoy Manor at the beginning, who is taking over the Ministry, and Umbridge is the second in command, basically. Literally sending away half-breeds and killing them, or not half-breeds, like Muggleborns and Mudbloods, sending them away like with Dementors. Like, she is just more evil than before, and she is just, I can't believe how worse she gets. But Dolores Umbridge in this movie is great. And then I like how Dobby appears again, and Creature and him bring back Mundungus, and Dobby explains like, oh, I saw them at the I saw them where they were at, and, like, I had to go and help Harry Potter. And, like, it's good that, like, Dobby's in this. It's just, like, I'm glad that they brought him back. I'm so glad, because I wish he could have been in 4, 5, and 6 in the movies. But even though it's totally fine, because those movies had to be shorter, but, like, I'm so thankful to see him again. He's so great, and he's so funny in this movie. And then I love how they interrogate Mundungus and realize that the neck locket is with Umbridge. So, oh shit. Like, we gotta go and get Umbridge again. Like, we've gotta go back to her. I love that. And I love how they infiltrate the Ministry and get Polyjuice Potion to become 3 different members of the Ministry. And they look just like each other. Like, they've got the same colored hair. They're just taller and bigger people. And they kind of get separated, and like separated in the Ministry, and then they get to Umbridge. Harry gets to Umbridge. He's disguised as Albert Runcorn, and like he goes and finds Umbridge, who is interrogating this woman, who Ron is playing with the Polyjuice Potion, like his wife, the guy's wife, and it's a really great scene where like you see she's interrogating this woman, just making sure, like, she's trying to get her to just be killed by the Dementors, basically, because she's not a full pure blood. And I love the fact that Umbridge is this awful, where she says, like, tell me witch or wizard you stole this wand from. And then the woman says, I didn't steal it. I got it at Ollivander's when I was 11. And then Umbridge just says, you're lying. Only a witch can actually get a wand like this. And I love that Umbridge is that horrible of a person. But we get some great payoff, because then the Polyjuice Potion starts wearing off on Harry. So I think Umbridge notices him right at that split second. But I love how Harry pulls out his wand and she just says, Runcorn, what are you doing? And he just says, you're lying, Dolores. And one must not tell lies. And while he's saying that, his face is melting back into a Harry Potter face. And he stuns her, and Hermione takes the locket, and they all escape, but the Death Eaters run after them. So Harry has to use the Patronus charm, and the Dementor's going down the elevator, and it's great. It's a great quick action scene, and they get into they get to the entryway of the Ministry and try to escape to the Flu Network. But then Yaxley, one of the Death Eaters, explained in the beginning of the movie, chases after them and grabs them right whenever they go through the Flu Network, and Ron gets splinched and injured. And then I like that these characters now have nowhere to go. Like Harry, Ron, and Hermione, like they were gonna land at Grimmauld Place, but then he actually grabbed hold of them, so now he knows where they were gonna be at. So he can't go back there anymore. Or they can't go back there anymore. So now they are stranded, stuck, and Hermione, as smart as she is, got like a tent and kept the tent from like Goblet of Fire in her bag, like her magic bag, which can fit anything in it. So now they have nowhere to go, and the tensions are really high. And I love how this movie challenges their friendship, all of their friendships, kind of like Goblet of Fire did, which was the halfway point of the books and movies, where like these characters are like they're running really high tensions because of the horrible situation they're in, and I really love that a lot. So I really love how they just get pissed at each other, but it makes sense because they're in a horrible situation. They don't know where any of the Horcruxes are. They're stuck there. They don't have the sword. They don't have Basilisk Fangs to do this. They don't know what to do. And then Ron leaves them for a little while after being so frustrated, and while wearing the locket, which kind of heightens the anger. So like he gets more pissed. And I feel so horrible whenever he says to Harry, like, your parents are dead, you have no family. Whenever he gets so pissed at him, and the great scene of him leaving, it's so sad that he leaves, and then Hermione cries over it and is distraught. And then there's a great scene where Harry and Hermione have this dance where it's like they've lost everything. Ron's gone too now, so the struggle is so real that they dance and just are happy for a brief moment in their lives. So I really love that moment. And then I love how they both learn, while Ron's gone, they learn of a couple things. They learn that the snitch, Harry, whenever he touches it with his lips, it says, "I open it to close," which we don't know what that means. And then Hermione explains to Harry that she figures out that Godric Gryffindor's sword that's missing, the sword of Gryffindor, since Harry stabbed the basilisk with the sword, it sucked up the basilisk fang. So like it takes in what it's able to actually destroy Horcruxes. So they figured out another way to do it, but they don't have the sword or any basilisk fang, so they're stuck. But I really do love that it's slowly building on that they are figuring out a way to do this, even though it's basically hopeless. Like there's no hints, there's nowhere to go, they don't know what to do. But they go to Godric's Hollow to find Bathilda Bagshot, who I mentioned earlier, because she knew Dumbledore maybe more than most people. And I love how they go there to try to figure out, like, maybe she has the sword, maybe Dumbledore lent it to her. But then Hermione also mentioned that, like, that's one of the most important places you could ever have, though. Like, if we go there, Voldemort might be there waiting. And even though the book did this, where they put Polyjuice Potion on while they were in Godric's Hollow, I like that line where Hermione says, "I think we should have used Polyjuice Potion," when they get to Godric's Hollow, and he says, "This is where I was born. I'm not going to come back as somebody else." So I thought that was a good line, even though it's different from the book. So, and then we have this great moment that I really love, where Harry finds his parents' gravestones, and he and Hermione sit there and stand there, and Hermione just magically creates a wreath underneath their gravestone and just sits it there, and like it's really perfect. Like, just Harry finally, like, it's not closure because he hasn't ever met his parents besides when he was a baby, but that was a great moment for him to actually feel like he actually met his parents, kind of, in a way. Not really, but you know, it's a good moment. And then a Bathilda Bagshot appears, and I like that immediately you figure out that she's Nagini, and Hermione was right. Voldemort did set up a trap, and they escape, but they still have found no clues, and I love how this movie does a good job of making it seem like it's completely hopeless. Like there's nothing that they can do. Like it's so incredibly hopeless for like Dumbledore gave them no clues. Ron's gone. They're just there on their own. So I really like that a lot. But then, as it gets better, where Harry is on watch while Hermione's sleeping. It's just her and Harry still, and this Patronus stag appears. You don't know who it is. It's just a stag. It appears. It goes over to this little lake, and then you see Harry finds that the Sword of Gryffindor is underwater. So he finally finds something that'll help him out. And I like that it took too long. It took so long to build that, but in a way where it works. Like, they actually had to suffer so much to find this. But it's underwater, so Harry goes underwater, and then right whenever he gets toward the sword, the locket freaks out because it knows if, like, it can feel the presence of that sword, like, that can kill him. So the locket just freaks out on Harry, and then somebody appears and pulls Harry out with the sword, and it's Ron, and Ron came back and helped them, and then Ron is the one to destroy the locket with Gryffindor's sword, even though Gryffindor's sword, or I mean, even though the Horcrux tempts Ron and pushes him so far where, like, these hallucinations are created by the Horcrux of Harry and Hermione say, like, that nobody wants him, nobody likes him, we were good without you, and, like, and it's horrible. And then they start making out naked, like the Harry and Hermione illusion. Like, it makes Ron so mad that he goes up with the sword and just smashes it down, the Horcrux, and destroys it. So that was a great moment for Ron, and a great moment just in general. And I love that we get the explanation about how he came back, like the Deluminator. And this is a great scene just for, like, Ron and Hermione's connection and their relationship. But Ron just says to her, like, I found, like, the Deluminator, like, I heard your voice through it, and it brought out a light, and that light brought me towards you, from my heart. And, like, I like how she's getting, like, she's pissed at him, but I like how she's kind of getting, like believing the story, and, like, but she's so mad at him still, so I like that a lot. I like that they don't just immediately get back, like, immediately get happy and back together again. So then they're all together now, and then they go to the Lovegoods, where, again, Xenophilius Lovegood, Luna's father, they go in there, and he's like, they're like, where's Luna? And he's like, oh, she'll be around. And then he tells them the story of the Deathly Hallows, which is a really cool animation of these three brothers and how they gain the three Deathly Hallows, the Resurrection Stone, the Invisibility Cloak, and the Elder Wand, and it shows how they obtain them, how they evade death, how death takes them all in return eventually. So I really like that, and I thought that was a great distinction from the rest of the Harry Potter movies, is that animation style of the three brothers, like, encountering death and getting the Deathly Hallows. So that's really great. And then after that happens, they're gonna leave, and then Xenophilius Lovegood just screams, "No, you can't!" And then like, he says, like, they took my Luna. This is the only chance I've got to get her back. And I love that, because Xenophilius seems like he's a nice guy, but, like, he just was desperate. And Harry even says that later, like, he was just desperate. He needed to get his daughter back. And Xenophilius knows they just want Harry. Everybody wants Harry, but he took Luna. Or they took Luna because he wrote in the Quibbler stuff about the truth about the Death Eaters. So they were mad at him and took his daughter. So then the Death Eaters appear, and then they escape. Harry, Ron, and Hermione apparate out and are encountered by Snatchers, which is a great scene where, like, they're chased through the woods, and it actually is a really good action scene. Like, it's shaky cam, but it's really good. But the shaky cam in that made it feel like it was, like, really thrilling. Like, oh man, like, they have nowhere else to go. Like, they are literally getting tortured, and they are taken then to Malfoy Manor. But before that, Hermione puts a curse on Harry where his face gets distorted so they can tell maybe it might be him, maybe it's not. But right whenever he gets his face distorted, he has the dream, or has like, sees Grindelwald talking to Voldemort, and how that Dumbledore now obtained the Elder Wand. Like, he owns the Elder Wand now. It is in the grave with him. He was buried with him. So I love that. And this is a great end for part 1, even though it's part 1 and 2 are a movie. They're not they're just disconnected because they're so long, and released separate because they were so long. But they are one movie. Like Kill Bill 1 and 2 is one movie. But they're taken to Malfoy Manor, and I love how Draco, since after Half-Blood Prince, he has been really feeling a difference in how he should, like, he doesn't know if he wants to be part of this anymore. So he's not sure about Harry. Like, he's not sure that that's Harry right there, even though Ron and Hermione are there too. And Bellatrix loses it and realizes that the Snatchers have her Sword of Gryffindor. It was from her vault. Like, how did they get that? So she tortures Hermione while Harry and Ron are taken downstairs and find Luna and Ollivander and Griphook, one of the elves from, or one of the goblins from Gringotts. So that's cool. But that scene of, like, Bellatrix torturing Hermione, even though it's short, is really effective and really hard to watch. And then it makes me sad too, because Bellatrix tortured her, and on her wrist, Hermione's wrist, it just says Mudblood written in blood on it, and that's, God, it makes me so mad. But it's so good though. And I like how whenever like Draco stands up to Harry, and now they are trapped underneath just because Draco couldn't give a clear answer because he knows it's Harry, but he's just debating on if he really should give the answer. He's just scared out of his wits, Draco. So I love that. And I like how Harry gets that shard of glass again and says, "Help us," to whoever's looking at him through the other side. And then Dobby appears. And Dobby helps them out, and like I love the fact that he saves them. Like, he drops the chandelier on Bellatrix almost, and like they have the squabble where Harry takes all their wands. Draco had them all. He takes all their wands, and I love this line with Dobby. Like, it's great seeing Dobby back where Bellatrix says, "Stupid elf, you could have killed me," and then Dobby just says, Dobby never meant to kill. He only meant to maim or seriously injure." And it was just a great moment. And then it was fantastic where Dobby has the final line where he says that Dobby is no house elf. Dobby is a free elf, and I am here to save Harry Potter and his friends. And we get that moment where this is a really great ending point. Since this is 2 parts, this is a great way to end it. But that moment where Bellatrix throws her knife, she throws it right at the apparition, right where they're apparating and going away from Malfoy Manor. The knife goes with them because Bellatrix sees it fly in there with them, and then it disappears. And she smiles like she knows she did it. And then they land on this beach, which is Bill and Fleur's house, which they'll explain in the second movie. They don't say it in this one, but they land on this beach. And this chokes me up. This is hard to watch, and it always has been, no matter what, because Harry just appears like in the sand with everybody else, and he sees Ron and Hermione. He's like, "We're safe. We're all safe." And then you just hear Dobby go, "Harry Potter," and then you turn around, and then it's the back shot of him, and he's just like holding his chest, and then he falls down, and then he was impaled with the knife, so he is literally dying right now. And it's always sadder whenever it's like a little creature like that, like Dobby. But it just makes me tear up legitimately whenever Harry's holding him and Dobby's dying, and Harry's just like, "Hold on, Dobby, hold on, we'll fix you." And then Dobby just says, "What a beautiful place to be with friends." And then he just says, "Dobby is so proud to be with his friends." And then Harry just puts his head down and starts crying on him, and then Dobby just says, "Harry Potter." And then he just dies. Like, he just sits there and dies. And it's so hard to watch. And then they all come over, and Harry says to him, like, "I want to bury him properly, without magic." And it's just a scene of them burying him, and it's incredibly sad. One of the saddest deaths in any of the films, any of the characters in anything, in any of the books, too. and they bury him, and just Harry just sits there crying and weeping, and then it cuts away after Dobby's death, and then Voldemort goes to Dumbledore's grave, literally gets the Elder Wand, shoots it up in the sky, and that's how part one ends. And that's a perfect way to end it, because holy fuck, like, this is just so hard to watch in such a great way, because I'm so connected with these characters. And I haven't watched this in a couple of years, so man, that was just such an emotionally satisfying first half. God, that was just incredible rewatching this. And again, every time, these ones keep getting greater and greater every single time. And this one just, God, it's so hard to watch in a great way, because I love these characters and seeing them go. But seeing them just in another movie is great. But it's just so sad, and so this felt like a very emotionally satisfying first half, even though it's half of a movie. It's not both parts. So yeah, I really love this movie again. I rewatched, just so many strong moments, such great action, such great characters, such great emotions, so many sad deaths, so many heartbreaks. This just blew me away, and I just love this movie. Or this first half of a movie. Again, I can't keep saying it's a movie, because it's part one of two movies. It's the same movie, but man, part one just blew me away. So this one just, God, so good. So thank you guys if you stayed this long. Thank you so much for watching. Part two is next. So thank you for watching.